One of the very sad things is that we live in a world in which morality isn't something that's taken for granted by the larger society. I think that Judaism, not only as Judaism, but also as the foundation for, I think, most moral systems that are in the Western world today, is something which certainly hasn't outlived its importance, and something which is important both for Jews and for the larger world. I think that as Jews, these boys should be aware of the ideas which are central to Judaism, and those ideas, I think, largely are ideas that have to do with our interaction with other people and our decisions that we make in our life on an everyday basis. Things that might not be immediately obvious. Questions about the friends that we make, questions about the kinds of jobs we're willing to take, questions about within those jobs what things we'd be willing to do, what things we wouldn't be willing to do. And again, I think it's very important for everybody, and especially for the boys who are in our program, to be able to have a basis in how to make those decisions. I think that it's very important that the boys have a connection with our tradition. Our tradition is a literary tradition. I think that it's important that they be able to be aware that text is a central part of Judaism, but I think it's also important that they understand that the text itself isn't an object. The text itself is a means of transmitting to us important ideas. It's very important not only that they be able to have contact with text, which is very important. They may have tried to make a point that we're learning text as a group, that we're learning it communally, not only necessarily as something that we read on our own and then just think in some theoretical way, but we try to apply it. I also try to make an attempt to bring in things from popular culture, films, music, talking about books that are out, about news events and things like that, and trying to bring that into questions about how would this be viewed in a Jewish context. I think that it's dangerous that the boys feel that they can't ask questions. I think that the relevance of Judaism is seriously impaired if we think that it can't stand up to the questions that we as people who live in the modern world ask. I think that the Judaism historically, we tend to think of Judaism as something that dealt with something 2,000 years ago. And we forget that what it dealt with 2,000 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, those were modern things at that time that Judaism had to deal with, and it did a very good job dealing with it, and gives us the opportunity to continue to grapple with the issues of modernity. There is a direct correlation between people who have made a decision one way or another about their belief in God and the way that they interact with other people. Now, I think that without God, it's hard for me to imagine there being a firm basis in claims for there being absolutes such as good and evil, and when push comes to shove, oftentimes when there are moral issues, the absolutes are the things that will prevent us from maybe making the wrong decision, despite what we might see as the benefit that we might gain from making the wrong decision. So I think for the boys, it's very important that they have a sense that God not only exists, but God is present in their lives. I think it's important that the boys, that they also have time to pray, maybe not necessarily the way that I pray or the way that somebody else might pray using a siddur, but that they be able to engage in some kind of hitbodedut, some kind of direct communication with God using their language. And I've found that for many boys, it's been something which has been very helpful for them in terms of them being able to cope with some of the issues that they're facing, both as teenagers and as people who are growing into something that they're not quite sure what it's going to be at the end of the road.